Hey everyone, my name is Haydn and welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to be reviewing the Super Study Guide Algorithm Data Structures book. I'll be letting you know my thoughts, who I think this book's aimed for, who should avoid this book, and a pros and cons list at the end. So let's jump into it. So just a quick overview of what this book is. This is a super study guide, or essentially just a study guide for algorithms, data structures, sorting, indexing. I'll give a full kind of breakdown of the chapters up on the side of the video here. Just a disclaimer, I was actually sent this book by the Amidi brothers. I believe they're brothers as they both have the same surname, and they have a reference to their grandparents in the book. I was sent this book to review. They watched the Grokking's algorithm book, they really liked it, so they sent me a free copy. And just before we begin this book review, I just want to say the views are my own. They've not influenced me or paid me to say anything about the book. They just want me to review the book and put it on my channel. So this is what I'm doing, so all these views are my own. The book is broken down into four main sections. You kind of have the foundations chapter at the start that gives you a good overview of what's going on in the book and just kind of a nice understanding or intro of the things that you need to know in order to kind of understand data structures and algorithms better. Then we move on to actual data structures, so the data structures you need to know in order to kind of solve computing and maths related questions. Then we go into graphs and trees, and then finally the last chapter is on sorting and searching. So these chapters increase in complexity, but you need to know the previous one in order to advance to the next one, and they kind of follow on from each other. So who do I think this book is for? This book is, as it says on the very front, a study guide. So this isn't essentially a book that is going to explain to you the concepts in details. They give you, they're a good reference material is what I would say to use them for. So when I was reading through the book, I had an understanding of kind of data structures and algorithms from kind of before, throughout my career as I've kind of learned them. And when I was reading the book, it was very much kind of a reference and a kind of a quick overview of what they want. I imagine I would want to use the book for, if let's say I'm solving a data structure and algorithm question, I'd probably look at the book in order to refresh my mind on the thing that I need to do, and if I need to do any more digging from there, and I really want a detailed example or some sort of detailed explanation of what's going on there, then maybe I'd go somewhere else. But this is very much kind of a study guide or a reference material, I think, to use for maybe you're trying to do a computer science exam or a maths exam, or maybe you're trying to learn data structures and algorithm better. Then this is a really good book, kind of just to give you a quick broad overview. It's not very big in the sense that it's not like a thick chunky book like I think Grokking's algorithms are a couple of inches thick, whereas this is like I think 150-ish pages, 143 pages long, and it just gives you kind of quick reference material. You can use the chapter list at the start to jump to where you need to go, and then you can get a good overview. And each section is, so for example, if we're talking about, let's talk about linked lists, for example, it will give you an explanation of what a linked list is in kind of like a 1 or 2 sentence thing, give you an example with diagrams, then it will give you a bit more of a complex application of where you would use a linked list in maybe a question or an example of working through a problem where you'd use your linked list. And then finally it gives you a nice kind of table at the end of your insertion, deletion, access times of a linked list. So, and that kind of format of laying out for each section is repeated. So the same would happen for hash maps or hash sets, the same would happen for arrays. You kind of have an explanation, kind of a graph, I see like an example, and then it goes into more kind of the actual application of it all. So if I try to bring one up here we go. So we've got stacks here. I don't know, I'm not going to try and show you on camera because you're probably not going to see it, but we have stacks, and then we have the definition of a stack in a one line. We've got some pictures there, as you can see, and then the operations. And then here, if I flip over the table, you can see we've got hopefully you can see that graph there, which is kind of the operations. It takes O(n) time, O1 time to do this, and various things. And then a bit more of a detailed, complex explanation here over these next 2 pages, which is kind of a more worked through example of what you would do. So who do I think this book is not for? I would kind of advise people that maybe are new to all these concepts. So if data structures and algorithms, if this is your first time approaching data structures and algorithms, I wouldn't probably recommend this book. Probably recommend the Grokking's book that I've got a video on my channel that you can go watch. That's definitely designed more for people that need to get a introduction to this, whereas this is very much kind of like reference material, study guide for people that kind of have an understanding already and they just need to kind of keep it in their head. I'm not saying that you can't use this as a beginner or someone that's new to it. It's very concise, it's got everything you need, it's very direct and straight to the point, where some other books kind of get a bit wordy. But I think if you were reading some of these things, you would probably end up referencing or reading them in this book, and then maybe going off to the internet or another book or some sort of other material to kind of deepen your understanding in it. But for me personally, for someone who's been writing software for nearly 5-6 years now, I look at this book and it's just, sometimes I read them and I refresh my memory and I went, oh yeah, actually, yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I forgot about that. And some things I don't use often. So it's, for me, I would keep it on my desk, and if I'm solving a problem at work or solving a problem on a project somewhere, I would probably sit there and go, oh, maybe let me flick through this, and maybe there's a structure that I can use that would help me better here. And the examples are really clear and precise. When I was reading through the book as well, it was quite an enjoyable read. I read it on the train into work, and it's quite a very well laid out. It's very, for a topic, in my opinion, it's quite dry. Data structures and algorithms, it's quite a dry topic. It's interesting, the pictures, it's not just walls of text, there's pictures, there's examples. It's very easy to consume as a reader. I think the Amidi brothers have done very well there. Apologies if that's not exactly how you pronounce your name, I'm sorry. And apologies if you're not brothers, but you have the same surname, so I assume you are. So if we go through the pros and cons now, I think there are lots of pros of this book. It's a very quick reference material for someone that kind of wants to just quickly refresh their memory on something like this. The sections are laid out very clear and concise, as in there is a explanation, an example, and then a detailed table of insertions, deletion, and access, which is exactly kind of the information that you need. You need to know those things if you're just quickly looking things up. It's again, I know it sounds silly, but it's a physically small book, so you can chuck it in a backpack, chuck it in your bag, you can hang it onto your laptop, or put it in your laptop bag, sorry, and you can carry it around with you, so if you do need to reference those things, I think it's really good. I mean, I just chucked it in my kind of essentially my coat and my backpack, and then when I was reading on the train, I just pulled it out and it was quite easy to read. It's got everything you need in it, I think, arguably. I think it covers all the basic ones and a few more complex kind of graphs and trees, and even searching and sorting algorithms. One that I didn't actually really have much familiar with, and then read the book, and it gave me a new searching algorithm to use, so that was good. And just to reference my previous point there about it being concise, this is the kind of the abstract of the book on the back. It says, this book is a concise and illustrated guide for anyone who wants to brush up on their fundamentals in the context of coding interviews, computer science classes, or to satisfy their own curiosity. Which I think the book exactly hits. It exactly hits the kind of the target it's going for. It is a concise guide on learning algorithms, stacks, queues, hash maps, linked lists, graphs, trees. It explains all the different trees and the sorting algorithms and their efficiencies and where you would use one over the other, and kind of their completeness. All in all, it is a very good kind of overview and study guide or reference material that you are, I am going to be using this book in the future if I was to do, coding interviews or some sort of kind of, or need to update myself with kind of them things. If I'm working on a problem at work that I think, maybe a good data structure book on this, I would definitely be coming to this book, because I think it just kind of gives you a quick reference material, and it's all easily indexed, and the chapter list at the start and the index at the back, you can jump between things very easily. Kind of some of the cons of the book now, I don't think it's a con, but it obviously, if you're not understanding the kind of the fundamentals already, I don't think this book is going to kind of propel you forward. You probably need a bit more of a detailed example. This is very much kind of a brief description, overview of the concept. It doesn't go into detail. It has a very broad base rather than kind of a narrow detailed onto something. So as in when we're talking about linked lists, that's a couple pages long of the example, the table of complexity time and insertion, deletion, things like this, and then the detailed example of solving a problem. You're not sitting there and going right into the details and trying to give you a little backstory. It's kind of I think they're assuming that you know that already, so you're coming to this as a study guide, which again isn't really a con. It's just be aware if you're reading the book for that. Apart from that though, I think that is really the only con. Well, it's not even a con. And another pro I'm going to put on as well is obviously these both the brothers I think are currently working on natural language processing at Google, so obviously they know their stuff, and they've written the book probably to reflect that. And I imagine they probably created this book because they keep referencing things themselves, and they probably just want a quick guide, so they probably have I don't know. I would have potentially made a book similar to this to be able to do stuff for that myself. So I imagine this is what they've done, and then they've shared it with the world so that other people can use it. So I think it's a really good book. I'm definitely going to be taking it forward with me in the future, and I do recommend guys pick it up. So if you have any comments or queries you want me to answer about the book, do comment them below. I do reply to all my comments that you put onto my channel. If you're interested in other software engineering videos, for example coding tutorials or book reviews, check out my channel. I've got many more views on there. Please do like and subscribe if you found this helpful and useful, or share with your friends if you think they would find this book useful. I hope you enjoyed this book review, and have a great day everybody.